the skin queen herself. Welcome to Spark TV.
Yay, thank you so much. Such an honor to be on here. When I saw the email, I was like, oh, okay. Because as I said before we hit record, I've listened to the podcast before. You've interviewed a lot of my friends in business. So excited to be on here.
Well, it was only a matter of time then, wasn't it?
That's it.
And I love that we got the pink memo. This is good.
Yes.
Very on brand for today.
Always pink background, everything.
So good. So good. Well, look, why don't we just start at the beginning? Let's tell people who you are and what you do, and then we'll get a bit of a backstory to fill everyone in.
Yes. So my name's Kelly, otherwise known as Skin Queen. I started off as a skin therapist, treating people with microdermabrasions, facials, and lasering a few vaginas. Just to be blunt.
That sounds like a good time.
And then I was like, oh, this is not for me. And I was just working in an environment where there was high sales pressure. And if anybody's ever visited a skin clinic before and feel like they've had the hard sell, yeah, it's just as icky for the girls who are selling to you.
Oh God, yes.
So from there, I jumped ship and I actually got a job as an educator with some of Australia's top skincare brands. So brands like Ultraceuticals, Aspect, Cosmetics, some really cool things. That's where I really settled into myself as a young adult, but also as a career person, because I realized quite quickly that my superpower is helping to educate and lead other women in business. And that's really my passion. So did that for about 6 years. And then COVID happened. And I'm sure this has been said a lot on your podcast, because I know I get it quite a lot. We had a lot of time to rethink everything and be like, is this actually what we want to do? And a lot of time on our hands to create. So started to build my little online platform, my Instagram, created a little ebook, which was called social media marketing for beauty businesses, obviously to the point. That did really well. And then I was like, I think I could turn this into something more. So I did. And literally a year and a half later, my boss came to me and was like, what are you doing? Are you in here or are you in with you? So I was like, okay, well, I'm in with me. So I've become a course creator for the professional skin industry, and still using my education skills, still helping to lead women in the industry. And that is still where my passion lies.
I love it. This is so good. And so many things to unpack there, which is amazing. I know this is going to be a brilliant chat, but interesting that the boss gave you a little bit of an ultimatum to sort of take that leap. What did that feel like? Had you wanted to make it your full-time gig, or what was that kind of thought process while you were there?
Yeah, of course. And I love sharing this part of my story, because I think when I was wanting to make the leap, there weren't enough examples of this. I was following a lot of women in business and on social media who were already into their business, they're already a few years in. And gosh, it is so scary. I was in a job paying me $120,000 a year. I was really comfortable. I had a car allowance, had a nice car.
Yeah.
And so I had really no reason to leave, but I was like, okay, I'll do it. So as I said, it was really hard to find examples. So the way that I did it for me, I kind of started to develop, or not develop, but kind of started to stash away a bit of a nest egg.
Nice.
I was like, if I can have, 3 to 6 months worth of savings to just cover the bills, then I'll be really happy, and I'll just ball on a budget in the meantime.
Love it.
I think by that point, I'd already created so much that I was like, I don't really want to throw it all away. I knew if I'd stayed where I was, I'd be very disappointed. But I think that's me in general with life. I don't know if it's my risk appetite has increased since working for myself, or I've always just been I'll give it a go. But I always feel like if I don't go after the things in life, I'm like, will I be disappointed in myself? Yes. Okay. I'm just going to do it and I'll figure it out later.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was what I did.
It does feel like such a big risk though, doesn't it? I love that you did say that you put away a nest egg though. I was just having a conversation with somebody this morning and I was like, sometimes it's glorified, just go all in, you've got to be all in or it won't work. And I'm like, it's really risky for people, just quitting everything and taking this leap of faith. And then it's like, well, nothing ever works out as quick as you think it will.
Oh, at all. And like, don't get me wrong, I had a mortgage, I had car repayments, like I had a dog, and I now have like multiple responsibilities with pets. But so I think sometimes people are like, oh, well, lucky for you. No, it's just that you were bold enough to take that risk and be like, I'm just going to do it. And honestly, for the first like 3 or 4 months, I was like, oh dear, I stuffed up. Seeing $2,000 come in a month total, or like, you know, 2.5, I was like, oh, what have I
oh
done?
my God, I'm going to die.
Pretty much.
You're like,
No
I'm never
safety net,
drinking
no
a
parents.
margarita again. It's all ramen noodles.
That's right. That's it. And do you know what though? This is what I love the most about my story, is because I was still trying to live a little bit of luxury, but I did it on a budget. So what I would do, which I think really helped, and I say this now to my partner who works for me, he's like new in the business. And when, you know, we have a bad day, he's like, well, I could sell my car. We could just get a 5,000. I'm like, no, that's like, no, that's not going backwards. It's fine. Because it's easy to get into that mindset when you're not generating money in your income. And I think we do see it on social media all the time. It's all bloody glamorized. Like, I made this much money in 1 month.
Yeah.
Right. And you're like, okay, cool. But like, that's not the everyday, let's be honest. And for me, I guess the way that I held the energy that I knew I was going to be successful, I used to go for a walk around expensive suburbs and expensive houses with my dog and be like, oh, I live here. Like, I belong here. And I still remember afterwards on my way home, and I'd do this once a week, I'd pull into a servo, I'd get like a can of $1.50 sparkling water. And they'd often have like this beautiful chickpea with semi-dry tomato salad with couscous. And it just felt so Mediterranean. And I'd go sit outside on my deck and eat this fancy salad with my thing. And it would cost me like $6 in total, but I just held on to that luxury energy.
I love that so much. So like two big standouts for me that you just said, like that actually believing it first, but physically taking yourself into those environments. I think it's so easy to be like, I am a millionaire. I am a millionaire. But then you like look around, you're like, I hate this house, or I hate this, I hate this. But like actually getting yourself into that energy and going into the suburb that you wanted to live in and eating the food that you, and like actually feeling it, I think is so huge when it comes to mindset and manifestation.
Even today, after this episode, I'm so excited because I'm going to take myself to my local shopping center and get gluten-free donuts and bubble tea. It's probably going to cost me $10, but I just love, it's like new and it's a vibey area. So I'm like, I'm just going to sit there and smash out the hard tasks because it's high vibe.
It's so good. I love that. And the other thing that you said as well, which really interests me, you know, people showing up on social media and being all like, oh, I made a 6-figure, 7-figure month. I'm a billionaire. And I love, we mentioned Claire, who was on the Claire Wood, who was on the podcast. I think she'll be coming out in the same season as you, about profit, right? Like she always talks about intentional profit. That's her new book. And that's one of the things that the people on Instagram don't actually talk about. It's like, you know, they might have had this 6-figure month, but they don't talk to you about the fact they've actually made no money because they spent it all on ads, or they, you know, the cost of their business is so high to run.
But I think that is like the essence of Claire too. That's why she's created intentional profit, because even myself now, I work with a lot of beauty business owners who are like, oh, well, there's money in the bank, so I'm doing well. And then you look at it and you're like, they're like, well, I made 10 grand last month. It's like, yeah, but you spent 8 grand to get there.
Yes, I know. And I mean, it's really like bothersome. It's almost like people are learning business from Instagram.
I know. I might trigger people when I say this, but I feel like it's very MLM.
Yes. Oh my God. It is though, isn't it? Right. And it's sort of, it's not until I guess people really go, holy shit, why can't I pay my bills? That they kind of go, has the wool been pulled over my eyes and I actually need to sort my finances out. I think it's a huge challenge for anyone starting a business, is like actually getting your head around the boring stuff.
That's it. It's worth it though in the end. Like I think back now, I've built my business from the ground up. Like I went all in July 2021 and I've outsourced a lot of things now so I can focus on my zone of genius. But even just then my partner came in and he was like, just paid this bill. You got this much outstanding. Our BAS is all good. Our tax is all good. And we're projected for this. And I was like, don't know what you said, but I'm happy that that's there. But I did know it once upon a time. And it's worth knowing those things yourself at the beginning. So I think
Yeah.
still initially when people are learning it, yeah, pay attention to the boring stuff, because at the end it gets you to a position where you can outsource it.
Yes, that's so good. I love that. How is it? So, what kind of things do you outsource in your business? How's that process been?
Yeah.
Like letting go of control?
Yeah, and I'm really passionate about this. I really believe in staying in your zone of genius, because
Mhm.
I got to a stage in my business probably beginning of last year where I just felt burnt out, and my business
Mm.
was like, booming in terms of the brand, and people were like, "You look like you're doing so well. We're seeing you everywhere. Oh my gosh, it's so cool to see you do well." But I was like, I literally have made 8 grand this month. Like, I'm not doing that well compared to where I want to be. I
Mm.
couldn't figure out why I couldn't scale. And then I realized it's because I wasn't actually focusing on the money making activities that I love to do in my business. So for me,
Yeah.
that's showing up and creating the content. And for a lot of the women that I work with in the beauty industry, that's them being client facing too, because that's where they're
Mm.
going to generate the money. But I was so stuck in doing my own bookkeeping, editing my own podcast, trying to do my own Facebook ads, responding to all of the messages and emails every day, that I was like, my gosh, it's if I only had time back in my week to create more content and get in front of my target audience more, I could
Yes.
probably generate more money. So that
Yes.
was another really scary thing to do, because I was earning 8 grand a month. And when I started to reach out to people and be like, okay, how much is it? Like the Facebook ads person was like 1,500 a month plus GST. I was like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
The virtual assistant was like, I charge $50 an hour and I've got 10 hours available. I was like, okay, that's adding up. The bookkeeper was like, yep, we charge $400. I was like, okay, it's all adding up.
Yeah, it's scary.
Once again, yeah. But honestly, I don't regret it, because now I have outsourced all of those things that I've mentioned. And I've just recently this year hired my fiance as my business manager to oversee all the systems and processes and contractors, so I can stay in my zone of genius. Like all day yesterday, all I did was spend time making reels, TikToks, YouTubes, podcasts, and today I'm editing them, and it lights me up, and that's what I'm good at. And now people are always purchasing from me left, right, and center. And they say, I see you everywhere. And I'm like, okay, see, now I can see that return on investment, because now my business is able to grow and scale because I've stuck to my zone of genius and outsourced the rest. And I
I think
didn't
that
think it
is
was going to be possible, but it is.
It's so good. And I love that you say that, your zone of genius. And I love that you use the words, people say to me, they see me everywhere.
Yeah.
Because I kind of think that that's important. I know that there are some schools of thought where people are like, I don't want to be on social media. I'm like, okay, that's fine. You need to have a very specific sales and marketing strategy. But
Yep.
I just think in this day and age, like being everywhere is kind of really important.
Yeah, well, we're in an attention game. No matter what
Mm,
sort of business you've
mm,
got, whether you've got an e-commerce business, whether you're a coach, whether you're a course creator, whether you're a
yes.
beauty therapist, a PT, a hairdresser, we're in an attention game. Like
Yes.
we all just want to be front of mind of your
Yes.
ideal target audience at all times. And that's all I'm always thinking about. So I'm like, well, if I can be everywhere, I'm going to be front of your mind.
I love that so much. And I mean, look, you're targeting a really specific industry as well. How do you go about getting in front of the right people? Is it just, the create content? Like, how does that actually work?
Yeah, I love this. I know my target audience inside and out.
Mm,
Honestly, like I know where they go get coffee. I know what skincare brands that they stock in their clinic. I know what events they're going to. So much so to the point that I've reached out to all of the industry events that are happening this year already, researched them, and reached out and said, hey, is there an opportunity for me to speak at this event?
nice. Yes, that is so good.
Definitely one part of it, but also too, I love Facebook groups. I think
Mm.
Facebook groups are epic because, I mean, are you in any Facebook groups yourself, Danielle?
Yeah, totally. So anything that's to do with sales, marketing, influencer marketing, or small business, I always put my 2 cents worth in.
Yeah, and I'm the same in the beauty industry. The amount of Facebook groups that I'm in, and I'm always, giving my 2 cents. But yeah, once again, it just helps you to show up everywhere. And then collaborating. I think one of the
Mm,
biggest things that I've really leaned into, yes, I do Facebook ads, but business to business marketing has actually been the best thing ever. So
really?
recently I reached out to an owner of a esthetician group in America. So same as a skin therapist here in Australia. She has 80,000 people in her Facebook group, but she doesn't have a huge Instagram following. And not saying I do, but I'm like, hey, can we go live together in your Facebook group? And then do you want to go live with me on Instagram? She's like, oh, I would love that. And honestly, I probably had maybe 250, 300 new emails from that live.
Wow.
I didn't have to pay for it. So
oh
I
my
do this
God,
often.
that is so
Yeah.
huge. So
But I do it a lot.
how do you find people to collaborate with?
Well, I'm always looking.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's looking at strategically, like even now being doing influencer work, I constantly get influencer things and people are like, what are your rates? And I'm like, well, if you've got a database with my target audience, you can send out something to your email database to promote me. I will do this for you for free. And it
oh my God, that is so smart. Like, I love that you just said that so much, because there is such, I think people undervalue like that exchange, right? Like, I feel like there's a lot of people out there who are going, I just want to be paid to do that post. And it's like, well, based on the amount of followers you have right now, you're going to get a lackluster rate. But if you actually said, nah, I actually just want to leverage how big your platform is, that's so huge. It's really interesting. I find it funny because I do a lot of influencer marketing work. Influencers, so a brand will do a deal with them, and the brand usually wants to like boost the post, like put ad spend behind it. And sometimes the influencers are like, no, you can't do that. And like the brand wants to pay to advertise you. You're getting free exposure. And I'm like, why are you not snapping that up? Like, that's ad dollars that you're getting for nothing.
Oh my God, that's so crazy. But I think that's the thing sometimes with influencers, they just want to get paid to post. Whereas I do have my own business that I actually want to be growing sustainably. So it works better for me that way. But I guess in terms of finding those people, it's about thinking about your target audience.
Yeah.
What pages, and even if it, like, I think in the early days, like I would just be having conversations with people in my target audience. And I've said this multiple times, but I always think of my number one supporter in my business. And she's somebody who's been with me since day dot. She literally lives up in the Northern Territory. And I love just conversing with her because she'll be like, oh, did you see that post in that group? Like, I'm not a part of that group, join that group. Or she'll be like, oh, I'm going to this new dance class. And I'm like, oh, what's this dance class? I'm like, oh, there's a couple of skin therapists in the area going there. Or the more that you know your target audience, the more you can find these places to reach out to. And I think that's what it is. It's about being strategic. Like, it's the same with any business. I was just doing some work with the business before this call, and I was saying, okay, well, you're wanting to help people with their skin. Like, think about people who are going to wedding dress shops or going to hairdressers or injectables or lash techs. How can you collaborate them in one way or another to tap into their audience?
It's so true. Like, there are so many complementary opportunities, aren't there, that you just need to, and it's like, I feel like as a business owner, we just need to live it. We need to live our ideal customer. We need to, you're right, having those conversations, going to those events, like always being on the lookout for how we can add value and collaborate.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing, because that's going to help your business to grow. And I think when you do know your customer, you would know yourself being like in marketing, when you know your customer, you can really create product solutions that will be really applicable to them, because you know them inside and out. You know what they're going through, you know how they speak, you know how they think. So you know how to create content for them, you know how to create solutions for them, you know what they need.
Oh my God, I love this so much, because it's so like good marketing value, right? Like every business, I think every business owner wakes up in the morning going, how do I make more money?
Yeah.
That's all we're thinking about is, how do I scale? How do I grow? What's the right thing to do? But I love that you're bringing it back to your ideal customer. Like, just concern yourself with that one person and how you add value to their life and solve their problems. Like, it's just, if you can kind of keep coming back to that, everything sparks around it.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Oh, incredible. So tell me then, going from employee to business owner, any challenges that have come up for you over the years?
Oh, where do I start? I mean, like even last night, just there's always something new to learn and tweak, and everything's always an iteration of an iteration. even to the point where before my partner came in was like, we've just done X, X, and X. We've just paid off this. He's like, oh, and we finally paid off that $47,000 tax bill.
Tax bills are the worst. I don't know. You can have the best accountant and you still sometimes look around, how do I have another tax bill?
Well, I had a really good accountant, but I was doing my own bookkeeping and I was just ignoring numbers and being like, I've got it, it's fine. And didn't expect to get that big of a tax bill. So immediately after that, I was like, all right, I need a bookkeeper. I do not know what I'm doing. But like, I guess there's nothing too much bad that I can stuff up. Definitely as a business owner, and I'm sure everybody can relate to that. Boundaries are really important. I think we often want to serve everybody and be there for everybody, but at the end of the day, like, I've really had to pull back this year and be like, well, what is going to be really in alignment with me and my values? Last year, I was really trying to get my brand out there and I said yes to way too much. And I was bending over backwards to people please. I was doing Instagram lives with lots of people. I was doing real collabs with everybody. I think because my podcast was growing, people were asking to jump on my podcast every second day. And I remember one day I had 2 full days of recording podcast eps. And then Claire actually, because I was working with her at the time, reached out and was like, I'd love to jump on your podcast and talk about my program and how profit is so important. I was like, that would be really valuable. But I've got podcasts scheduled 12 weeks in advance because I keep saying yes to people jumping on my podcast. So I think lots of people I've heard do that in their first year of business, but it's okay to come back and be like, am I spreading myself too thin and overcommitting and saying yes to too much? What can I pull back on so that I can actually realign? And I think that's been the biggest lesson for me, because I do want to be everywhere and I do want to be, liked, because we all do as humans. It's just what we do.
Yes.
I need to channel my Anna Wintour a little bit more sometimes and just be a little bit more cold and true to my
I love that.
But I think as women, don't feel guilty for being like, this isn't actually going to serve me or align with my values.
I love that so much. And you are right. I think in our first year or a couple of years of business, we're like, oh my God, I need to say yes to everything. Otherwise it's not going to work or whatever. But even that process of, what is my vision? What's in alignment with how I want to show up and run my business? But also one of the things I found was there was so much I was saying yes to that actually had no impact on my business.
Right.
I was like, if I didn't sit on that panel, it would make no difference. So all I'm doing is giving them my energy, exhausting myself, and then I actually can't show up and grow my business. So I think that is such a good lesson to actually reflect on, firstly, that vision, that alignment, but also like, what is actually going to move the needle for your business as well?
Yeah. And I think you can feel like, even me, like this year I was like, I'm saying no to more things, pull back. And sometimes I feel mean and I feel like a bad person. But then a lot of people have come out of the woodworks and been like, oh, I'm so inspired by you that you just say like hard no to things. And I was like, okay, because I feel like a bitch. Yeah, you're right. Like exactly what you said, Danielle. Like if it's not going to increase your bottom line, it takes you away from you making money in your business. And it could be great for exposure and a few new followers, but what could you better serve with your time? And exactly right with being on a panel. Somebody's asked me to be on a panel recently, but they also wanted me to help with the promotion and the marketing, and I'd have to travel and, go into meetings I was just like, no, this isn't aligned unless I'm going to get paid for it. I just have to say, no, I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's it. It's people sort of underestimate sometimes when they reach out to you and ask you for things, what exactly it takes. Like I was having this conversation because International Women's Day is coming up, and there's lots of controversy at the moment because there's lots of women being asked to sit on panels or keynotes or whatever without being paid.
Yeah, without being paid. Yeah, I was waiting for you to say that.
Yeah, and it's
very
so
empowering.
I know it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating, but it is interesting because I was having a chat to another woman in business and we're like, people kind of go, well, it's just half an hour keynote. And it's like, well, no, I've got to travel. I'm missing out on work. I've got to write this speech, outfit. I've got to buy something new. How exactly? It's like this huge, huge adventure. And people just think, well, you're only just standing up for 30 minutes. Why are you complaining about being paid? And it's like, oh, people don't actually know what is involved to show up in a great way, because you also want to do a great job for the audience as well.
That's right. And you know, I learned two things. One thing I actually learned from Denise Duffield-Thomas.
I love her so much.
We all
yes.
love her. And she said the same. She was like, I was asked to speak. It was only for an hour. I said, here's my fees, it's $10,000. And they were like, for 1 hour? She's like, but it's not 1 hour. It's exactly what you just said. It's the time to travel there. I've got to organize somebody to look after my pets. It's accommodation, it's outfits, it's hair, it's presentations. Like all this takes time. She's like, in hindsight, she's like, I'm undercharging because that's honestly going to take 2 days of my time plus expenses. Yeah. I was like, yeah, that's so true. But then another thing, I think women can sometimes feel guilty charging that much. And I saw a TikTok yesterday that I know you and your audience will love. It was that you don't spend money, you circulate money. And so if you're receiving that money, you're only going to circulate it to another business for them to temporarily hold. And so that I'm taking into everything that I do now when I'm charging my prices. I'm like, it's not that I'm getting it, it's that I get it to circulate it.
Yes, I love that. There is a really interesting, vibe, right? Like money is energy, and you can kind of assign any amount of energy you want to it, good or bad, negative, positive. I love that idea of I'm actually getting this in so I can grow and I can impact more amazing lives, and I can circulate it and contribute to the good of the world. I think that coming to terms with the negative things that people have told us over the years about making money or making a lot of money is one of like the biggest issues women have in business.
I know. It's what I'm passionate about too. Money mindset's such a huge thing, isn't it?
It's crazy. I'm just in the middle of revamping. So Spark has a sales program, and after teaching it a bunch of times over the years, that's the biggest thing that's kind of shocked me. I was like, I can tell you what to do. I can show you the process, the strategy, but I'm like, if you don't have the right headspace mindset, you just don't show up and do the work. So it all starts with mindset, doesn't it?
That's it. Totally agree with you.
How have you navigated that? Are there any like tricks or courses or anything you've taken to like improve your own mindset around money?
Yes. So I don't know if this is like a conventional way, but it's definitely been the most impactful way. When I first started my business, I came from corporate. So it was like hustle, work 9 to 5, eat lunch in the car on the run. Like I was like, wow, I had to really retrain myself when I left my job. And I came across this person on the internet who was like, I make tens of thousands of dollars with ease and flow. And I was like, what is this bullshit? I was like, whatever. The more I started learning leaning into it, I was like, oh, the energetics of business, the energetics of money, and all of this stuff. And I ended up actually doing abundance hypnotherapy.
Oh my God. Cool.
Life-changing, honestly, life-changing. So it was actually a friend who quit her job from the same business I was working at the same time. So we both kind of like jumped into the deep end, holding hands, being like, oh. And she just finished doing hypnotherapy and NLP. Wow. And I was like, can I please pay you to do some abundance hypnotherapy? And we did 6 sessions together. The investment was about $3,000. Yeah. So it was scary once again. And we met weekly for 6 weeks, and we just worked through all of the limiting beliefs. We reprogrammed my thoughts. We, really did some timeline therapy. And it was honestly the best thing that I've ever invested in, because it rewires your mind without having to do too much. And it's interesting because like even this morning, now that my partner's with me and he's come from a corporate background and he just likes to work all the time. And yesterday I was like, that's not what we're here to do though.
Yeah.
And I said to him this morning.
Remember the fun?
Yeah. I'm like, that's not why I started a business. It's like 8 o'clock this morning and he's like at the computer with his coffee still in his pajamas. And I'm like, go have a shower and get ready. Like there's no rush. What are you doing? But I said to him, what comes to mind straight away? And for anybody listening, this will be really good for you too. When I say you don't have to work hard to make lots of money and be successful. I said, don't think about it, just what comes to mind. He was like, false, not true. We do work hard. I was like, but we don't work hard. We work smarter. And we have proof. I was like, yesterday we had a $10,000 day and we went to a bathhouse for 90 minutes at 2:00. He was like, yeah, because we worked hard. I was like, but we didn't. We just have worked smarter.
Yes.
And I'm like, this is your limiting belief. This is why you think you need to be at your desk all the time. And I can just hear he's gone to the gym now. So I'm like, okay, he's taken on board something, what I've said. But I think for a lot of us, you know, we do have limiting beliefs that keep us stuck. And I've done a lot of work on that through abundance hypnotherapy, journaling. I've got my tarot cards that I now lean into.
I love it. Yes.
But it's a constant work in progress. Like whenever something comes up, I'm like, oh, where has this come from?
Yeah. I mean, it's so interesting as well. And I think interesting that you referred to the corporate background, because so I've got a corporate background as well. And it's like, you know, so anyone that's working corporate, like, it's like, you've got to be in first, you've got to leave last, you've got to be seen to be working hard. Even if you're not actually working hard, it's just the portrayal, right? Like everyone needs to know how hard I'm working, so I get the promotion or the pay rise or the whatever. And I feel like we just drag all of that crap into business.
I know. It took me a long time to reset not only my nervous system, but the way that I worked. I was like, there's more to life than that. But I did for a very long time have this belief that I wasn't worthy of success and I had to work hard in order to have success. And you know what? Now I've just been like, I offer a lot of value to people. I'm just going to start charging more. And I did it. And the proof is in the pudding and people are signing up. And I'm like,
that is so freaking cool. I love it. I love it. You have been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your story on Spark TV. I know just personally, like thinking about those mindset lessons and your journey, I've got a few things that I'm going to work on today. So I'm so stoked to share your story with the Spark community. Thank you so much for being here today.
Such an honor. Thank you so much, Danielle.